Today, we're going to dive deep into something really special. We're talking about a steak that's not just aiming to be the best you've ever tasted, but is also tied to a pretty unique business opportunity. So let's get into the incredible story of Kangen Wagyu Premium. Let's kick things off with a question that, well, it might sound a little out there at first. What if the secret to a perfect steak wasn't just the genetics, or the feed, or how it was raised, but the actual water the cattle drink? Keep that idea in your head, because that's the core of everything we're about to explore.
All right, so behind every truly great product, there's always a story, right? And the story of Kangen Wagyu is a fascinating one. It all starts with a dream that literally crossed an ocean, bringing together old-world Japanese tradition with new-world American ingenuity.
So picture this. We're going back over a decade to a small farm in Okinawa. That's where Enagic's chairman, Hironari Oshiro, had this vision. He was a true believer in the power of Kangen water, and he had this idea. That idea then traveled all the way across the Pacific Ocean to find its perfect home at Masami Ranch in Northern California, right there in the shadow of the beautiful Mount Shasta.
And this quote right here, it just nails the entire mission. The goal was never just to make another expensive steak. No, it was about totally rethinking the process. How could they do it more naturally, more healthfully, and how could they create something genuinely new and valuable for the world? That was the driving force.
So how did they actually pull it off? Well, think of it like a recipe for perfection. First, you start with the absolute best ingredients, the legendary genetics of Japanese Kangen Wagyu. Then you add a spark of innovation, which is Enagic's Kangen Water technology. You put them in the perfect environment, the incredible terroir of Masami Ranch, which is just a fancy way of saying its unique climate and geography. And when you mix all that together, boom, you get the birth of Kangen Wagyu.
Okay, so that's the backstory, the passion project. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. What actually makes this beef better? Let's move past the marketing for a second and look at the actual science behind it.
You might be thinking, okay, sounds nice, but what's the real difference? I mean, really, what sets this apart from any other amazing high-end steak you could find at a five-star restaurant? It really boils down to two key things. Pillar number one is the genetics. This is what's known as American Wagyu. It's a cross between a 100% full-blood Japanese Wagyu and a top-tier black Angus, which gives it that unbelievable marbling. But pillar number two, well, that's the real secret sauce. It's the fact that these cattle are hydrated exclusively with Enagic's proprietary Kangen water. That's the game changer.
To put this into perspective so it actually makes sense, you've probably seen Choice or Prime at a restaurant, right? Prime is the best of the best that the USDA grades. It's what you get at the most elite steakhouses. Well, Kangen Wagyu is playing on a whole different level. It consistently hits a 5 to a 9 on what's called the Beef Marbling Score, or BMS. That puts it in a class all by itself.
In fact, the quality is so off the charts, they had to give it its own name, Prime++. Now, that's not an official government grade. It's their own standard. It's their way of saying, hey, this is where traditional Prime ends and something totally new begins.
And a huge part of this quality comes from what they don't do. We're talking about a serious commitment to purity. There are no added hormones, zero growth promotants, no antibiotics ever, and no animal byproducts in the feed. Basically, it's about as clean and natural as beef can get.
So we've got the story, we've got the science, but let's be honest, none of that really matters if it doesn't taste incredible, right? So let's talk about the most important part, the experience on the plate. The very first thing people notice is the texture. You know that legendary, velvety, melt-in-your-mouth feeling people rave about with the best Wagyu? This is it. It's just unbelievably tender. But it's not just about being tender, the flavor. Wow, it's this deep, rich, savory flavor, that umami experience that just coats your palate and stays with you. It's not just a one-note richness. There's a real complexity there that's just so satisfying. And all of this leads to something they call the B4 advantage. Now, here's the idea. Sometimes the richest steaks can be, well, a little too much, right? Almost overwhelmingly fatty. This is all about balance. It's engineered to hit that perfect sweet spot between that incredible marbling and a really satisfying deep beefy flavor. It means you can actually enjoy the entire steak. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the steak. Now we're going to switch gears. Because a product this special isn't something you're going to find at your local grocery store. The way they bring it to market is just as unique as the beef itself, And that's where this powerful business opportunity comes into play.
So how does it work? It's all built on what's called a direct-to-consumer model, DTC. All that means is they cut out the middleman. You can't buy this in a store. It's all about people sharing it with other people through personal connections, which, when you think about it, makes perfect sense for a luxury product with such a great story to tell.
Now, if you're interested in the business side, this is probably the most important slide. They didn't have to invent a whole new sales model for this. Kangen Wagyu just plugs right into Enagic's tried and true, globally patented 8-point commission structure. This isn't some new untested idea. It's a proven direct sales system that's been working for decades all over the world.
So what does it actually look like to get involved? They've laid out a pretty clear 4-step path. First, you've got to master the product story we've been talking about. Second, and this is the fun part, you host exclusive tasting experiences. Because, let's face it, the product sells itself. From there, you tap into the huge existing Enagic network. And the result? You can earn direct commissions and start building that long-term residual income. And from a pure marketing perspective, this is just brilliant. Look at where Kangen Wagyu fits. They're not trying to compete with the standard premium beef you see everywhere, and they're also not trying to be that crazy expensive once-in-a-lifetime Japanese A5 Wagyu. They've carved out this perfect little niche right in the middle, what you'd call accessible luxury. It's a genius move.
Okay, so this all leads us to an invitation. And it's really an invitation to make a choice. You can either choose to indulge in what might be the best culinary experience of your life, or you can choose to invest in a pioneering business opportunity. Your journey begins with the Kangen Wagyu Prime Plus Plus set. And this isn't just a couple of steaks in a box. It's a whole introduction to excellence. You get 5 of those incredible 8-ounce premium steaks, a dozen gourmet patties, and a dozen artisan sausages. It's the full experience.
All right, let's talk numbers. That first set, your entry into this whole world is $880. But here's the really cool part. Once you're in as a member, you get exclusive pricing. So when you want to reorder that same exact set, the price drops all the way down to $580. There's a huge benefit to being part of the club.
And finally, for those of you who've been listening to the business side of this, here's the other invitation. This is about investing. It's a chance to get in with a brand that's creating a whole new category, using that proven 8-point model. And get this, they've created a special fast-track option. For a $2,900 business investment, you can jump straight to the 3A rank. That's a key milestone in the commission structure that unlocks higher earning potential much, much faster. So it really leaves you with one final question to think about. What are you looking for right now? Your next great meal or your next great opportunity? Today, we're going to dive deep into something